Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to braise a short rib and then plate it. So in order to make this recipe, we have here a nice short ribs, okay, each one with a bone, salt and pepper and flour. We're going to sear it with some oil. We have mirepoix, garlic, tomato paste, a little bit of red wine, bay leaf, and thyme, our brown stock. And this is beurre meunier. The beurre meunier is later on when, if we need to adjust the thickness of our sauce, we can add a little bit beurre meunier. Beurre meunier is 1 part butter, softened butter, 1 part of flour, equal parts by weight. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our short ribs and we're going to put salt and pepper on all sides, okay, all 6 sides. Okay, I'm going to take then a little bit of pepper, okay, not too much pepper. We don't want it this sauce to be too peppery. Then we're not making pepper steak. We just want a little bit of pepper on it. Okay. Another way you can do it is just get all the stuff that excess like this. Okay. Then the next part, we are going to take a bowl. We're going to put our short ribs in it, and we're going to put flour. Okay, we want to put flour all around. Okay, but now we have too much flour on it, and it's a really important thing is to go ahead and tap it and move it from hand to hand and get rid of the excess flour. We don't want a crust to form, and we don't want it to stick to the pan. Okay, so you see I'm taking and I'm removing all the excess flour from it. It's every time it says dredge in flour, you want to do that to make sure that you don't have too much flour that will make your sauce too thick. Okay. I'm going to wash my hands. Now that we put some flour, seasoned our short ribs, we heat up a pan and we're going to put just a little bit of oil at the bottom of the pan. We heat it up before we got started so the oil can heat up fast. And then when it starts smoking, we know that it's hot, and we're going to put not the bone side, the meat sides first. Okay. Okay, you can hear sizzling, and you know that it's good. Okay, we will need to control the heat. The reason I chose these sides of a pan, we have 2 pieces. You don't want to use too big of a pan. It will make all your phone burn, and also you'll need to use much more liquid than necessary. So always when you start braising something, look at the amount of meat that you have and make sure that you have something that is appropriate to the amount of meat that you have. You want 1 layer of meat. You don't want to be too small. If I had like 4 or 5 pieces of meat and I utilize this pot, then it will be too small. Okay, so I want to make sure that it's at the right place. So I'm going to brown it on all 6 sides, and then I'm going to take it out and brown my mirepoix. Okay. Now that we browned all 6 sides, we're going to go ahead and take the meat out. We can get rid of the excess oil if we need to. And then we're going to add our mirepoix. Onion, carrot, and celery, and put it back on the stove. Take a spoon, and we're gonna brown our mirepoix. Now that our mirepoix is brown, we're gonna add our garlic to it. And when we're gonna add the garlic, we want to make sure that we are not burning the garlic. So we just cook it until it changes color a little bit. And you can smell the garlic. The next step is adding the tomato sauce and doing pincé. Pincé is when we take tomato product and we cook it until it change color to a copper color, like orangey copper color. We do it for two reasons. It helps reduce the acidity of the tomato product, and also for the color, instead of having something that braised, it looks like it was braised in a tomato sauce, it's more of a brown sauce, okay? So you want to make sure so it's not bright red, and it doesn't like stay like too tomato-ish, and you take some of that tomato flavor and bright red color out of it. So you can do it for about like 2 minutes until it changes color. I can see already it's not as bright red as it was before. Start to get more brownish, orangey color, copper color. Now that it turned, like you can see how it turns brownish and orange color, it's gonna be sweeter and reduce the acidity in there, and have like a nice brown color instead of a red color. Okay. The next step that we're gonna do is we're gonna deglaze with some red wine, and we're gonna cook the alcohol out of it and reduce it. Because I have this small quantity, it's gonna be a little bit faster. If you do a full recipe, it's gonna take you a little bit longer. You see my wine is already reduced. Okay, I'm gonna put some of our braising liquid in there. I don't put everything in there. I just put enough, what I think is enough. I can always adjust after I put the braised short rib. Now that I had the liquid and I deglazed, I get all the fond, all the flavors from the bottom. You see I have a nice brown color. It's not like a red color, and that's due to the pincé. So the pincé is a really important part or step of braising something. Okay, so now that the liquid is there, also I can turn up the heat so I can bring it to a boil, and I'm gonna put my meat inside. I put the meat size down in there, and you want it to be like about 3/4 of the way, half the way to 3/4 of the way. So my estimation was right there. It's about like 3/4 up the product. We're gonna bring it to a boil. Then we can add our aromatics, bay leaf and thyme. We prepare the cartouche ahead of time, and we're gonna put the cartouche on top. And we are going to put some aluminum foil. So the reason we put the cartouche, it like makes it kind of like contain the meat and keep it moist and help it cook more evenly, because there's some part of it in the liquid, some part out of it. By putting the cartouche on top of it, we can create an environment that it cooks more evenly. We will put it in the oven for about 3 hours until it becomes tender. After about 1.5 hours, we're going to take and flip the meat, so the part that was in the meat is going to be out of the meat, and the part was out of the meat inside, and the meat that was in the liquid. So the part that was in the liquid will be outside, and we keep flipping it like that, so to promote even cooking. So put it in the oven on 325, and we are going to come back and check it in about an hour and a half, and then flip it over. Now that our meat has been cooking for about 3 hours, we're going to go ahead and check it again to make sure that it's nice and tender. Okay. We're going to take the foil out and the parchment paper. We're going to keep it because while we're doing other things, it's nice to utilize it to keep our meat nice and moist. So our meat is tender. It shouldn't be falling apart, but it should be tender. Okay, you don't want it to be completely mushy. We call it fork tender. You can see how it's nice and tender. Okay, when you touch it. Okay? The sauce, making the sauce. Okay, just say well. Let's cover it like that. In order to make the sauce, beef short ribs has a lot of fat on it. Okay, so we are going to strain it, and then we're gonna get the excess fat off of it. So you can tap it a little bit to get all the juices out. You don't want to use a ladle to push it through because the mirepoix is soft, and then you can push some of the mirepoix through it. So what I do is just tap it a little bit to get all the juices out. Okay. Now we return our liquid into our pot. I'm going to put it over here, and we're going to turn it on. So while it's heating up, I'm going to show you how to trim the meat. Over here, you would see there's a connective tissue right next to the bone. So what you want to do is go ahead and take this off. Okay. Don't throw this away. It's delicious, but you can serve it on a plate. But I would put a little bit salt on it and just eat it. It's okay when it has a little bit fat on it. This is part of the short rib. Okay, but this way, this connective tissue is made out of elastin, and it's really tough, and you don't want on your customer plate. Okay, so you have to get rid of it. We're going to put this back over here. We're going to keep it covered. Now we're going to get the excess fat. By boiling it, you get the or you can also push it a little bit. I push it away from the center, so by boiling it, it pushes the fat into one side of the pot, and it makes it easier to get rid of the excess fat. So I have hot water over here, and I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the excess fat. Okay, if you don't do that when you're making the sauce is gonna be too greasy, and it's gonna be very hard for you to emulsify it. Okay, so it's an important step to get rid of the excess fat. Okay, after I remove most of the fat, having a little bit left, it's fine. Okay, no problem, but you want to get most of it off. So I got most of it off. I'm going to add my beurre meunier, okay, a little bit at a time. Again, beurre meunier is 1-to-1 ratios, equal amount by weight, soft butter and flour, and it's used to thicken up sauces, get them to the right consistency quickly. So it's a quick roux. I'm going to add a little bit more. get my sauce a little bit thicker. You can also utilize reduction when you do that. Now that our sauce is in the nappe consistency, I'm going to go ahead and put it back to heat up in the sauce. Okay. And I'm heating up onions. With the short ribs, you can always take and baste your short ribs with the sauce to help it warm up. And we are ready to plate. Now I'm going to show you how to plate the short ribs with our sides over here. We are going to practice center of the plate plating. We utilize the plate like a clock, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock is where you want the plate to be placed in front of the customer. So when you plate, you always want to have the view of the customer, and when you send it out to the customer, you make sure that this is the way that they're going to place it in front of the customer. So we're going to start with our gnocchis that we made and sauteed with some butter and sage. We're going to put it right there at 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. I'm going to make a little mound of little pillows of gnocchis. Okay, that should be enough. Okay. The next is we're going to take our glazed onions. You see that the glaze is sticking to the onions, and we're going to plate it right there in between 3 and 12, right next to the gnocchis. Take some of the glaze. You see it's sticking to the onions, keeping a white plate rim all around my food. I don't want my food to go all the way to the rim of the plate. I want about an inch all over. The next step is we are going to take some asparagus. These are nice asparagus, like 5, and lay them right there between the gnocchis and the pearl onion. Then the next step is to plate our beef. And take a piece of short rib and put it right there. And we want to take and nappe our sauce right on top of it. So a braised item is always served with the sauce coating the main ingredients. If I have a little drip over here, I'll take a little piece of paper and make sure that I'm cleaning it up. And this is the way that we plate our braised short ribs. Our main ingredients right there in front of the customer, our money item. We have our starches, our vegetable, our green vegetable, and the sauce is coating the braised short ribs.